Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into Argentina's auto market. You've got a really tough economy, but car sales, they're absolutely exploding. So how is that even possible? Well, we're about to dive into the numbers that tell this really fascinating and kind of paradoxical story.
Okay, let's just jump straight in with the big headline number. New vehicle registrations in Argentina are up by a massive 47.8% year over year. I mean, that is an incredible growth rate for any market, anywhere.
So what on earth is fueling this crazy sales boom? To really get it, we've got to zoom out and look at the whole economic picture first. And let me tell you, for everyone from fleet managers to just regular car buyers, it is a very high-pressure environment.
So, the first major headwind here is inflation. It's running hot at over 31%. Now that squeezes everybody's budget, right? It drives up the cost of everything. We're talking spare parts, fuel, you name it. And it just eats away at people's ability to buy things.
And to make things even trickier, the benchmark interest rate is a staggering 25.5%. Just think about that. If you want to finance a new vehicle, doesn't matter if it's one car or a whole fleet, that kind of rate makes borrowing money incredibly expensive.
And then you've got unemployment. While 6.6% might not seem totally extreme on a global scale, it still adds another layer of economic uncertainty for both consumers and for businesses who are just trying to plan for the future.
So let's just try to put this all together for a second. That nearly 50% sales boom we started with, it's happening inside an economy that's facing some pretty serious headwinds. So why are people buying? Well, one really strong theory is that in a high-inflation world, smart consumers are rushing to buy hard assets, things like cars, as a kind of hedge. They're trying to lock in a price before their cash is worth even less tomorrow.
Okay, now this is where the story takes a really fascinating twist. We've seen the booming sales figures, but what's actually happening on the factory floors inside Argentina? Let's put those two things side by side.
And there it is, the central paradox of Argentina's entire auto market. While vehicle registrations, which is basically sales, are skyrocketing up nearly 48%, domestic vehicle production is actually down 3.1%. Just think about that for a second. The assembly lines are slowing down at the exact same time the showrooms are selling out.
This huge gap just begs the obvious question, right? Where are all these cars coming from? Are dealers just burning through all their existing inventory, or are we seeing a massive wave of imported vehicles flooding the market? The answer to that question is absolutely critical for the future of Argentina's domestic auto industry.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, we're not talking about some tiny niche market. The total number of vehicles on the road in Argentina is over 15.6 million. That works out to roughly one vehicle for every 3 people. So any big shift like this has a massive national impact.
So, who's actually winning? Let's take a look at the specific brands that are somehow managing to navigate all these challenges and capitalize on this incredible consumer demand.
Okay, so what we're seeing here is a market that's really dominated by just a few key players. Toyota is leading the pack, and they've carved out a really significant slice of the market. But it is a tight race. Volkswagen is right there behind them, followed closely by Fiat, Renault, and Peugeot. When you add them all up, these 5 brands make up the vast majority of all the vehicles being sold.
Now let's get even more specific and look at the models themselves. Toyota's dominance really comes from this 1-2 punch. You've got the workhorse Hilux pickup and then the Yaris sedan. And just look at the growth of the Yaris, up an incredible 44.5%. It's also pretty interesting that the number 3 best-selling car, the Peugeot 208, actually saw its sales dip a little bit.
But, the sticker price is only half the battle, especially if you're a fleet manager or really anyone just trying to stick to a budget. The long-term cost of actually running a vehicle, that's where the real story is. And this is where a huge opportunity for the future of this market just comes into focus.
Wow, this slide right here reveals a potentially game-changing economic reality. To get the same amount of energy to drive your car, you can either spend about $1.16 on gasoline or just 18 cents on electricity. Let that sink in for a moment. For the same distance, electricity is more than 6 times cheaper than gasoline right now in Argentina.
For a commercial fleet, we're talking taxis, delivery vans, trucks, the kind of vehicles that are running all day, every day. This isn't just a small saving. This is a fundamental change to their whole business model.
And all of this leads to one final, really provocative question for anyone watching this market. When you have all these powerful forces, consumer demand, production limits, and energy costs, all colliding at once,
What is the average vehicle on the streets of Buenos Aires going to be powered by in 2030?
Fleet Mobility Today.